Just think about it, Darren, Cindy urged, her eyes glittering with mischief and excitement. We don't have to take it too far. We could simply explore something small, something thrilling. I hesitated, nervously threading my fingers through my hair. I don't know, Cindy. That feels like a lot. I never expected you to treat our sex life like this. It's not that I'm dissatisfied, she said gently, her tone softening. She looked at me with an expression that suggested she understood my own ease. You're amazing in bed, Darren, but maybe we could add a little spice, shake things up a bit. I raised an eyebrow. You're the one wanting this variety. Everything you're suggesting seems like it's for your thrill. What about me? Don't you think I might want to explore with another woman? Cindy gave me a knowing look, her gaze flickering with a memory of the night before. She hadn't forgotten that I'd told her she was the only woman I ever wanted. You know I don't, I replied, my voice calm but honest. But you were definitely intrigued by that video we watched last night, she teased, her voice playful. 2 guys with 1 woman, that seemed to light a fire in you. I nodded slowly, conceding the truth I didn't want to admit. Maybe, but the women in those videos, they aren't my wife of 10 years. That changes everything. One of the men was her husband, though, she countered, flashing a sly smile. That was kind of the point, wasn't it? You even said how turned on he looked while watching someone else with her. Her words lingered in the air, daring me to cross a line I wasn't sure I could. But there was no denying it. I was more intrigued than I cared to admit. All right, I said at last, my voice low and uncertain. But where did you even find that video, Cindy? She brushed off my question with a light laugh. The fact that I saw that video last night and then Darlene mentioned the guy today, it's not just a fluke. Feels like fate, doesn't it? That's just coincidence, I muttered, though deep down I knew better. The timing was eerie. Perfect, even. Too perfect. Still, I didn't want to seem too eager. Cindy leaned closer, her eyes gleaming. Should I call him Babe? I've got his number. What's his name? I asked, lingering for a beat. Robert, she replied, her lips curling into a playful grin. I tried to measure how deep we were diving into this, but her excitement made it clear we'd already taken the plunge. I told you, I don't know much about him, she added casually. Only that is apparently attractive and pretty confident in bed. She was definitely exaggerating, but I didn't call her on it. Instead, I gave in with a dramatic sigh and a shrug. All right, go ahead. Meet him. Thank you, baby, she squealed, wrapping her arms around me and peppering my face with kisses. She pressed her body against mine, clearly overjoyed. And while I kept up the act of reluctance, I couldn't deny that a part of me was just as curious as she was. I'm sure this will interest you, she whispered, eyes alight. Later that evening, she made the call. I didn't hear the details, but the date was set for the following night. We'd meet Robert at a pub we rarely visited, Neutral Ground. The plan was to see if any chemistry sparked. If things fell flat, unlikely as that seemed, we'd just head home and enjoy the night ourselves. When we arrived, the air between us was electric with anticipation. We nursed our first drink slowly, both of us on edge. The risk was real. Things could unravel quickly if we weren't careful. Are you sure about this? I asked, my voice tinged with doubt. We're already here, she said with calm confidence. Let's just see what happens. I nodded and took a slow sip of beer, trying to still my nerves. Cindy leaned in, her voice barely a whisper. I think that's him, she said, pointing discreetly. A tall, athletic man with dark hair was making his way through the pub, scanning the room as though searching for someone. Cindy? Darren, he called out, a hint of polite uncertainty in his tone. Yes, Cindy replied, her voice bubbling with excitement. You must be Robert. Nice to meet you, Darren, he said, extending his hand. I shook it firmly, sizing him up. He exuded quiet confidence. Your wife is even more beautiful than I expected, he said, flashing me a grin. Smart move, compliment the wife, but direct it through the husband. Bold and disarming. I gave him a slight smirk as Cindy leaned toward him, her laughter light and carefree. She planted a soft kiss on his cheek, her face flushed with anticipation. As the night unfolded and the drinks kept coming, I observed Robert's careful demeanor. He was respectful, never crossing a line too fast. But every brush of his fingers against Cindy made her shiver, made her squirm with giddy delight. She giggled like a teenager, utterly taken by the attention. In another life, I might have felt a sage of envy watching the two of them reconnect so effortlessly, leaving me to play the forgotten third wheel. But instead of jealousy, I found myself drawn in, fascinated by their energy rather than alienated from it. They were clearly the main characters in this unfolding act, and I was simply the intrigued observer on the sidelines. "Do you think we could invite Robert over to the house?" Cindy asked, breaking the silence about 30 minutes later. I let out a long sigh, lifting one shoulder in a noncommittal shrug. Moments later, we were leaving the pub together, her arms snugly linked between mine and Robert's. "Maybe I should ride with him, to show him the way," she said, mischief dancing in her eyes. Reluctantly, I agreed. I stood watching them drive off together, wondering what might unfold in those short 10 minutes. But 10 turned into 20, and they returned without offering a single word of explanation. It felt like an eternity. After heading to the kitchen to brew some coffee, I returned to find a scene that knocked the breath from my lungs. Cindy was perched on Robert's lap, his hand sliding up under her sweater with a boldness that stunned me. The air had changed. Thick, electric, dangerous. Before long, her top had vanished, and her bra lay abandoned on the floor nearby. "This is moving way too quickly," I said sharply, a flicker of alarm in my voice. Neither of them acknowledged me. "Seriously, Cindy, Robert, this is getting out of hand," I said again, more firmly this time, heat rising in the room and in my chest. "Do you want to join?" Cindy offered with a casual tone that lacked any real warmth, though her hand extended an empty invitation. "I'm good," I murmured, my stomach churning. "I'll just stay right here and watch." She didn't wait for a follow-up. She simply smiled and turned back to her little performance, leaving me alone with my rising discomfort. I sat motionless, fighting the urge to intervene. Inside, I was seething. Their laughter echoed like sharp jabs, each one cutting deeper. "My God, those are some incredible breasts," Robert said with a low chuckle. My jaw tightened. I clenched my fists, doing everything I could to stay composed. But the steady stream of flirtation, the moans, the whispers, it was too much. Enough. The tension in the room became unbearable. Without a word, I stood, turned, and walked out. They didn't even look up from their antics. Their coffee sat untouched on the table. And the best part? Neither of them seemed to notice that I had slipped my phone back into my pocket. Camera app quietly closed. The next day, sitting across from my attorney, I could barely contain my satisfaction as we scrolled through the photos and videos I'd captured the night before. "Think this will impress Alex?" I asked, unable to hide the grin spreading across my face. "Absolutely brilliant, Darren," he said, a smirk playing on his lips as he watched the footage. "How did you even manage to get this stuff?" "Bit of luck, bit of planning," I said, riding a wave of adrenaline. We already had the full report from the private investigator, 3 years of documented infidelity. But oddly, he had failed to get any real visual proof. His notes painted the story, sure, but without photos, the entire case could have collapsed in court. That's where my footage sealed the deal. Lucky for me, the investigator had caught a key moment, Robert convincing Cindy to let me watch the whole thing, live. That gave me just enough time to prepare my counterattack. "I'll get the paperwork started immediately," my lawyer said, his expression turning serious. "You will have the divorce documents in her hands tomorrow." Business concluded. I stepped out of his office with a lightness I hadn't felt in years. I felt free, triumphant. Victory had never tasted so sweet. The woman I'd spent 35 years beside, the one who'd mothered our 3 children, chose to entertain a younger man at the twilight of our lives. And not just behind my back, but in full view, using our shared savings to fund a betrayal. She tried to humiliate me in the most personal way possible. But I caught on. I turned the tables. And now, justice was coming for them both. And as for me, I'll make sure she faces the full consequences of what she's done. That's where this story ends. If you enjoyed it, well, you know what to do.